Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica on a brand new side series we're calling Retro Revamp Rewind. What I want to do with this series is revisit some of the earliest videos on my channel, specifically the 5 Konami M2 games, because I talked about them a lot, but I've listened to the voiceovers and I don't love them, and since these are such important games that are so rare and people know so little about, I kind of wanted to loop back around and do a 2-year update on these sort of things. But before we get too far involved, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. We have a Patreon now as well if you're so interested, and that link is below. But to start out, we're taking a look at Tobe Polystars, which is a shmup released by Konami in 1997, and I would say that this is definitely my favorite game on the Konami M2, which is just a derivative of the 3DO M2 console design that was obviously canceled back in 1997 and we never got as a home system. And this was the game that kicked off my collecting for M2, because I had the system pre-ordered back in 1995 or 1996, and I was super looking forward to it, and I had seen previews in magazines of Tobe Polystars with rumors that it was going to be ported to the home console, and that clearly never happened. So when I wanted to find an M2 to play, I wanted to find a Polystars board. And what ended up happening actually was I saw 2 different boards for sale at the same time. I put bids on both of them because I wanted to make sure I won one, and I accidentally won both, so I own 2 of these games. So my first 2 M2 games are actually the exact same thing. But considering it is my favorite game on the Konami M2 platform, having a backup PCB isn't the worst thing in the world. But as far as why I love this game so much, outside of the absolutely colorful and charming art details, which I will talk about in a little bit, is the fact that it does something slightly different than most vertical shmups, in the fact that as you move your ship forward, it gets smaller, and there are some foreground and background elements that you have to deal with, because enemies aren't always just going to be attacking you from the front. Sometimes they're going to come up behind you and you have to deal with that. But I absolutely love all the character designs in this game. The first boss, what looks like to be a flying pig with a speaker on his snout, shooting these sonic rainbow attacks at you. And all the bullet patterns, while fair, are challenging. I'm playing this on medium, but if you kick it up to very hard, getting a 1 credit continue would be a very difficult thing. And that's why I love shmups in general in this game so much, is because of all 5 Konami M2 games based on the 3DO M2 hardware, this one definitely has the most replayability for your money. And I do love these little segments between stages. You get these extra animated, like CGI renders of what's going on. I will say, if you're looking to collect this game, it can be quite expensive. Currently, there's one for sale on Topps Japan, if it's still for sale once this video goes live, and they're looking for about $850 American dollars plus shipping for that. So this is getting very close to a $1,000 game. But you can convert other Konami M2 boards to run it with a burnt CDR and an ISO file, so you don't have to get an original Polystars board if you want to play this game. It can be converted. And I've got a ton of videos on how to do that if you just look at my On a Technicality playlist, or I will link it below. But if you ever have any questions about that, please ask. I'm happy to get more people to experience this game, because that's just how much I really enjoy it. Now, interestingly enough, this actually didn't start life as a 3DO M2 or Konami M2 game. If you go into the file structure, there's a big and little endian. It's just kind of how the byte length works on a file. And this is the exact opposite of what the Konami and 3DO M2 look for. And in the software, it switches bytes around so that this actually runs. I'm not sure what platform this was originally intended to run on, but it's not a Konami or 3DO M2 game natively. It was ported over, and that's the only instance of that port happening for the system. So I'm not really sure what the intent was for Polystars, but it's just a little interesting history of the game. But like I said, the art style is what gets me coming back to this game over and over again. It has that kind of cute 'em up vibe like Parodius does. Konami was famous for that. And I love this gigantic robot squid that we have to fight with all these tentacles coming out and these pink missiles. And pretty much every opponent has eyes on them. They kind of look like googly eyes in a way. But the basic story is you are in a world of polygons, and your main enemy wants to take all the texture work out of your world and turn it into a flat, shaded polygon universe. And basically they just kind of took some of the technology behind how they make games and put an entire story together with it. And it's just a fun little nice touch. And this game, like I said, it just has charm coming out the wazoo. It's colorful, the soundtrack is great. Everything about this is a great presentation that just makes you want to play it over and over again, because now we are shooting these box dinosaurs on the ground. And speaking of on the ground, you have 2 attacks. You have your straight shot forward, and then you have a bomb that will travel along the ground, and you have 2 control styles for that. You can have the bomb on the same button as shoot, or you can have the bomb on a separate button. But you do need to worry about ground-based enemies as well as the enemies that are flying towards you, and in later stages it gets very complicated to handle all the different things you have to deal with at once. but the soundtrack to this game is absolutely stellar. I could listen to it without playing the game, and I actually use the soundtrack for a lot of my technical videos underneath me talking because that's just how much I like it. What I want to do now is just give you guys a little time to listen to it. That way you can hear all the sound effects and the music, and I'll be back in about a minute. We'll close out the video on a revisit of Tobe Polystars, but enjoy. And now we're on to the next boss, which you can clearly tell is a Tyrannosaurus Rex made out of cardboard boxes, and he is wearing boxing gloves. And that's what I think I love about this game so much and what drew me to it back in the 90s when I saw previews in magazines is that I've always been partial to these very vibrant, cute, colorful games. It's an art style that I really love. And if you're into that as well and you like shmups, you're going to have a ton of fun with this game. If you're not into that art style, maybe it's not for you because like I said, it runs about $900 to buy a PCB, so it's definitely something you need to be sure that you really want to play before you purchase. But it seems like the developers at Konami had a ton of fun in making this game, and between the colorful art style, the fun character models, the quirkiness, the really upbeat soundtrack and everything, the sum of its parts makes a game that feels unique and wholly special to me, and that's what I love about it so much, and that's why it's the first game I sought out, because to me it has everything that I'm looking for in a shmup. And as far as the weapons are concerned, you do have a good diversity, and being able to upgrade your firing pattern is going to be super important, because when I was fighting the Tyrannosaurus Rex cardboard box boss, I had a homing attack, and if you can keep that homing attack from stage 1, getting a 1 credit continue becomes infinitely easier. Now the 3-way spread shot makes things relatively easy, but when you're trying to attack some of the enemies that are coming from the side of the screen, having that homing shot is going to be your best friend because it's going to make the game, I don't want to say easier, but it's going to definitely change your play style up, including the fact that a lot of the stages feel completely different. Now that we're onto this stage here, we've had this large ship following us for about a minute, and we need to destroy it before we can move on further into the stage. So the game also has a lot of diversity in each individual stage. I mean, granted, it's always going to be a shmup, and your main goal stays the same, but how you play each stage does have a ton of diversity to it. And now that T-Rex is back, but as opposed to being a cardboard box, he's now a piloted mech with wings. And the game is just so charming, I can't help but love it. But that is Tobe Polystars, and that's our revisit on it to get some better commentary since it is such an awesome and important game. But if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It takes a lot of time and energy to make each one of these videos, and we're going to have 4 more Retro Rewind revisits coming up soon on the other 4 Konami M2 games, because they are so rare and they are so unique. I kind of want to let them have a little bit more of the limelight. See you next time. Bye-bye.